Winter is definitely here, that's for sure. So, a while back I did a video on making a skid plate for the front of the kayak of my Pro Angler 14. And this will pretty much work for a canoe, boat, whatever, kayak obviously. And I did this video about 6 months ago, and this is the same exact skid plate that I put on 6 months ago, and it was painted black. I mean, it still is on the sides, but it's taken quite a bit of damage since then. Hasn't come off or anything like that, so if you haven't seen that video, you should check it out. So about 2 months after I did that video, I had the idea to do this, make a skid plate for the belly of the kayak. And I basically used the same method as I did in that video that I did. And it turned out to work great. It's been on here for about 4 months. I painted it green, and I started using it pretty much right away. You can see the white, that's the actual pipe, where it's, the paint is worn off from being dragged on dirt, sand, concrete, things like that. And it actually does have a few pretty deep gouges in it already. I will say that I actually did film myself making this, and I had to call a friend over here to actually help me, because this is just one piece all the way down to here, and I actually ran out of pipe, so I had some shorter pipe laying around. So from right here to the end, that's just actually another piece. Same thing over here, that line from there to there is just one piece, but from there all the way down to here is just one piece. And I'm gonna tell you, it was a gigantic pain to get this right, because one thing that you have to do whenever you do something like this is you have to make sure it wraps around the boat pretty much perfect, because if you have like a lot of waves and bumps and stuff like that, it's just going to slow you down. It's just going to create more drag than, you know, what you need. So if I had to do this over, I would definitely like split it up into like 3 sections probably and do it that way. But yeah, it was a nightmare to make. So there was 2 main things I was worried about whenever I stuck this on. The first one being is if I would lose any speed, because this Pro Angler 14 is definitely not a rocket on the water. You know, it's slow enough as it is, and I definitely don't want to put nothing on the bottom of it to make it even slower. And the second thing is if it would track through the water weird. So as far as tracking goes, when I wanted to go straight, the boat went straight. Whenever I turned, nothing weird happened. It just turned like normal. And as far as the speed goes, I do have the turbo fins for the Mirage drive. So according to my fish finder, I was averaging in no current 3.8 to 4, and that's just a nice steady pump. And whenever I put this on, I was averaging 3.7 to 3.9. So if anything, I lost 0.10, which I'll take that any day to save the bottom of this boat, because I do launch at a lot of beaches that have jagged rocks and shells and oysters, things like that. And some of the boat ramps around here aren't the best in the world. There's a lot of really rough concrete. So yeah, I'll definitely take a 0.10 loss to save the bottom of this. And I just used the same double-sided tape that I used for that. If you haven't seen the video of this, you should check it out. Pretty much shows you how to make something like this or that. But yeah, I used one entire roll of tape for each skid plate, and just stuck it on there. And I did use some silicone all the way around the edges to try to make it more streamlined, to cut through the water faster. And you know, it was just an idea that I had, and I went with it. So in all total, I probably spent 60-70 bucks. And yeah, you can definitely save yourself the heartache in making something like this by just buying the Boondocks landing gear. But this is just a cheaper alternative, which I probably will get the landing gear at some point. But now that I have this, I'll probably just leave this on here for a while. So yeah, it definitely worked out great. I hear the dogs scratching at the door. So on that note, I'm going to go let them out and play in the snow. So I'll catch you guys on the next one.